Good morning. Today is Thursday, June 18th, 2026, and we are on record with the Grant County Board of Equalization. We'll be hearing petition number 2025-263 for parcel number 39278-141121000, represented by John Anderson, who is in attendance. The assessor's office is represented by Jeremy Ritchie, who is in attendance. Please silence your cell phones and note these hearings are being recorded and will be posted to YouTube once the order has been issued. Mr. Chair, the board is convened and the hearing is opened.
The hearing today is regarding the true and fair value set by the Grant County Assessor's Office. Reminder, this relates to the assessed value of your property, not your property taxes. Board of Equalization is independent of the Assessor's Office. We are 3 citizens appointed by the Grant County Commissioners and trained by the Department of Revenue. Today's board is comprised of myself, Jim Brinkville as chair, Mark Steinmetz and Rosa Decker as members. We have reviewed all evidence presented by both parties. This hearing is only to provide any additional oral testimony. No new evidence may be submitted at this time. Remember, everyone's time is valuable. Please try to keep to the timelines. Please address the board only. Do both the appellant and the assessor's representative swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
I do.
I do.
Okay, go for your first. Go ahead.
So I received a increased property assessment where the county assessor raised the total assessment on lot 141112100 to $359,596 for this year. And I believe that the assessed value.
Speak up a little bit.
Sorry.
Speak up a little bit.
Just
Yes.
talk a little louder.
I believe that the assessed value of the property is approximately $314,000. And this is, I did submit some sales originally. However, those sales, as pointed out by Jeremy, were outside of the window of acceptability. So 4 additional sales were resubmitted within the evidence window. Those are the sales of lots 13038400, 13058400, 13061300, and 1303-72000. They correspond to addresses 360 Statter Road, 281 Statter Road, 239 Columbia Road, and 431 Columbia Road. All of these sales have occurred within the acceptable window for the criteria of the Board of Equalization. The sale price of these properties that I was able to locate were $139,361 for 360 Statter Road. It is a 2,548 square foot house on an 8,000 square foot lot. $325,000 for 281 Statter Road. It is a 1,786 square foot house on a 7,800 square foot lot. 239 Columbia Road, which is a $330,000 house on a $330,000 house that is 2,265 square foot on a 7,800 square foot lot. $355,000 for 431 Statter Road, a 1,740 square foot house on an 8,000 square foot lot. All of these houses are on larger lots than the subject property. It appears that the value of the property within our neighborhood of these sales and the value of the land combined for the subject parcels all have a lower sale price than the proposed assessed value that was provided by the Board of Equalization. And because of that, I would like to estimate the value at a lower amount. The secondary thing is that it is noted within the evidence package that the subject parcel, was sold as a combined lot for $411,000. This included 2 properties, and that was 141112100. That's the property we're discussing today, and a secondary lot, 141122000. So those 2 sales combined almost over 5 years ago, as of a couple days from now, was for a combined value of $411,000. The second thing is that looking at the property data in AFREDA in aggregate, there is a large amount of variance that is present across all neighborhoods. we can observe, if you start sampling just from the cadastral data set that's provided on the county website, that it appears that larger lots have higher property assessments. And what I'm getting at with that, larger lots have equivalent property assessments, but that houses located on larger lots have higher property assessments. And so we've captured a portion of the property value within the larger lot. That is important because what's essentially going on here is that the tax assessment on the land for these properties appears very high on a total amount of square footage perspective. That is, I feel, of important note. The second thing is that when we begin looking at sales, there is a tremendous amount of volatility within the data and within these assessments. For example, one sale of great interest, probably to the board, is of 431 Statter Road. This property, of course, had a sale of $355,000 and an assessment of $337,922. However, between 2023 and 2024, the appraisal value of this property increased by $109,923 from what I could find on the website, or 36.3%. And then in the next consecutive year, 1 year later, the assessment was decreased by $73,409, or 17.8%. And what I would like to point out is that we see assessments going up and down, but it appears that there's a lot of volatility there. And I don't necessarily feel that large increases in taxes and large decreases in taxes are necessarily appropriate. I feel that taxes should increase by a gradual and consistent amount between each calendar year, so that we don't have these large burdens that appear and then disappear. And so, because that property is a comparable property and that the sale occurred within the same neighborhood block, I would like to draw your attention to that. And that's essentially why I believe the evidence taken together that my property should be assessed at $314,000. And that would result in a combined assessment between the two properties, one not being discussed today, of $358,500, which I believe is the appropriate sale price. Lastly, it should be mentioned that mortgage prices have increased by approximately 36%. So the same quantity of money will purchase 36% less house than it would in 2019. So that does put downward pressure on property prices as well. So because of all these things together, I believe a assessed value of $358,500 for the two combined lots, or an assessed value of $314,000 for the property with the house, is the best estimate. So that's what I have.
Okay, so you're saying 314 is your number?
314 for this parcel, and then the two parcels together would be 358.
Go ahead.
Okay, this subject is a 7,125 square foot lot containing a 1,607 square foot one-story residence with an 879 square foot basement, along with a 644 square foot basement garage. The home was built in 1996. Let's see, according to RCW 84.40.030, states that all properties is to be valued at 100% of true and fair market value. There's no better reflection of a true fair market value than the sale of its subject being assessed, so long as the sale is a qualifying arm's length transaction. This subject sold on July 20th, 2021, along with the neighboring vacant parcel for $414,000. All indications show that this was a qualifying arm's length transaction. Using the most recent vacant land sales, and in my response, I did include on page 6 of my response, I did include all the most recent land sales going back to 2021 when the subject was sold. Using that, the most recent vacant land sales, and removing the value for the vacant lot that was also sold with the subject property. Removing the value from the $414 sale leaves us a value of $360, which we currently have the subject assessed at $359,596. He did, like he said, he did submit 4 different sales with his original appeal. The first 2 sales, sales A and B, were past the cutoff date of April 30th, so they weren't able to be used with the development of the value for this year. They will be used for next year's value, but for this year, they were unable to be used because they were past the cutoff date. Sale C is a 1.5-story house outside the subject neighborhood, so it wouldn't have been used in this case to develop any sort of a market adjustment or anything like that because of the difference of the houses. And sale D is a 2-story home also outside the neighborhood. So again, that one in this instance wouldn't have been used to develop any sort of a market adjustment or anything like that because of the difference of the homes, a 1-story and 2-story house. This home was not given a market adjustment this year due to either lack of sales, I'm not exactly, but it didn't receive a market adjustment, so the home is being valued strictly on the cost to replace it and then depreciated by the age of the home. We did take the 4 sales, those 4 sales that were submitted, and put them into a direct sales comparison grid, directly comparing the sales that he originally submitted, comparing them to the subject home. And based on those 4 sales, we can still support the value that we have the house at $359,000. In response to the 4 newest sales that he submitted, all of them are in the correct neighborhood. All of them did fall prior to the cutoff date, which is awesome. Sale A, if you look, sale A, the one that sold for on 360 Statter Road, that sold for $139,000, would not be considered an arm's length transaction. So it wouldn't be a sale that we used because the buyer and the seller both have the same last name. So looking at just on paper, that wouldn't be something that we would use simply for that reason. Sale B, the one on 281 Statter Road, is a smaller house. It's 450 square feet, not the 1786 that he's got listed. His house is 1,607 square feet. Sale B doesn't have a basement and it doesn't have a garage. So those 2 things alone would be why the subject parcel would be valued a little bit higher than what this one sold for because of the lack of basement and no garage. Sale C, it's the same square footage, but it has no basement and it's got a smaller garage. It's got a 576 square foot garage and his is a 644 square foot garage. The lack of basement, a smaller garage, can explain the difference in what that one sold for and what we have the subject valued at. And sale D also has no basement and a smaller garage, same reason. Those things would explain why this subject is valued slightly higher than what any one of these sold for. It is because of all of these, this office's request that the board sustain the current assessed market value at $359,596.
Okay, any rebuttal, sir?
I'm confused because I looked at pictures of some of those properties and they did have garages.
Again, you need to speak up here.
Oh, I'm just confused because I thought there were garages on some of the properties that were listed as comparable sales.
I looked them up yesterday afternoon, pulled each one of them up in the system, and they do not.
They do not, okay. Looking forward with this transaction, we have sales that have occurred that are considered non-comparable and sales that have occurred that are considered comparable sales. For example, 239 Columbia Road, the sale at $330,000, which is considered outside of the comp time, is located just a few houses down from mine. This house sold for $330,000, has a garage, is on the same sized lot, and it is correct that that house will be used for assessments in the next calendar year. Yet this also causes volatility within tax assessments, and that is something that the board should consider. The second thing is he said that depreciation has been included with my property, but the property subject house on 1411-21000 is indeed 30 years old and does indeed require significant work, which my wife and I are trying to accommodate at this time. For example, I have siding that does require replacement. And I did suffer a flood 2 years ago, which damaged the basement. And now I had to do some renovation work. Now I'm trying to make my upstairs and my downstairs match. But the two color palettes don't match in the house. It's an unmatched house. Upstairs has one style of trim, one style of floors, and the basement and the upstairs do not match in this property. If I were to take it to market today, in a situation where the upstairs and the downstairs don't match, on a 30-year-old property with siding that has water damage on the side of the house located by the garage, I would not receive a full assessed value. And I know that that is technically considered new information, but what is brought up in the letter is that the house is old and requires maintenance. And I do list that I will need to replace the siding on the house, that I will probably need to be replacing the roof. This is not a new property. And so because of both the circumstances of the property, I believe that the assessed value of $314,000 is the most appropriate. And that would provide a combined assessment between both parcels of the $358,500.
At any time, did you contact the assessor's office to give them the information that your house has suffered damage?
I did not contact them. The damage occurred 3 years ago. It happened because of a drain system.
Again, I'm just asking whether or not you made contact.
No, I did not make contact
Okay,
with them.
Jeremy?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know anything about any of that stuff. I mean, I believe we've got the house listed as in average condition for its age. And again, the home did not receive any type of a market adjustment based on sales or anything else. The house is valued at the cost to replace it new and then depreciated based on the age of the home. That's how we have it valued. And that's where we stand. We can support the value. And that's our request is the value of $359,596 is sustained.
We're up against our timeline. Is there anything else?
That is everything, sir.
Okay, all right.
This concludes the Grant County Board of Equalization hearing. The board will review all of the information provided, and board orders stating their decision will be issued within 45 days. If either party disagrees with the board's decision, they may appeal to the Washington State Board of Tax Appeals within 30 days of the mailing of the board order. Good morning. Today is Thursday, June 18th, 2026, and we are on record with the Grant County Board of Equalization. We'll be hearing petition number 2025-100 for parcel number 111-281-140499000, represented by Legacy Townhomes LLC, Gary Mann, who is in attendance. The assessor's office is represented by Rebecca Nash and Clayton Johnson, who are in attendance. Please silence your cell phones and note these hearings are being recorded and will be posted to YouTube once the order has been issued. Mr. Chair, the board is convened and the hearing is open.
The hearing today is regarding a true and fair value set by the Grant County Assessor's Office. Reminder, this relates to the assessed value of your property, not your property taxes. Board of Equalization is independent of the Assessor's Office. There are 3 citizens appointed by the Grant County Commissioners and trained by the Department of Revenue. Today's board is comprised of myself, Jim Brankveld as chair, Marge Steinmetz and Rosa Decker as member. We have reviewed all evidence presented by both parties. This hearing is only to provide any additional oral testimony. No new evidence may be submitted at this time. Remember, everyone's time is valuable. Please try to keep to the timelines. Please address the board only. Do both the appellant and the assessor's representative swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes.
Okay. You go ahead. You're first.
Okay, I'm going to start with a little bit about my experience. I started, since nobody knows me, I started my real estate education in 1976. I started as a full-time salesman, real estate salesman in 1979. I purchased my first real estate company in 1983. I was approved to do commercial appraisals for Washington Trust Bank from 1990 to 2010. I was on the Board of Equalization for 6 years, and I was the chairman of the Board of Equalization for 3 of those 6 years. I taught at Big Bend real estate classes for 3 years. I've trained hundreds of agents and on pricing of properties. Why is this important? It shows that my experience is pretty extensive, and my experience shows me that there's a difference between the cost approach of housing and the market value. Also, that one of the things I want to bring up to begin with is that prices of houses have dropped, or multiple family have dropped in the last couple of years, and that rents have dropped in the last couple of years. Part of that has to do, and the majority of it has to do with there was about 1,500 jobs that we lost or never appeared, REC, SGL. We all know what happened, and that caused a drop in rents and values. I turned in a packet, and hopefully you all have the packet, because I'd like to start on my page 1
Okay.
of my packet.
You got limited time because we're
Okay.
booked up the whole morning, so.
I'll go as quick as I can. Page
All right.
1, all property must be valued at 100% of its true and fair value. That's RCW 84.40.030. I'll go through this quickly. Page 2, fair market value, definition from the WAC. Fair market value, as that term is used in the act of these rules, means the amount of money which a purchaser willing but not obligated to buy would pay a seller willing but not obligated to sell. So it's a present cash value, and present cash value as of that date, not what the cost was. Page 4, I asked ChatGPT what a willing buyer would pay for a 39-unit apartment building. I agree with this, but I wanted something in writing for you. For a partially completed 39-unit apartment building, a willing buyer generally pays an estimated value of the completed project minus the total costs to finish it, plus a significant risk discount. Next paragraph, buyers often demand 15 to 25% of the discount to purchase the property. Then the next sentence, most professional appraisers and investors use a combination of these 3 approaches to determine fair market value for a developed property. Residual value, this is the most common method for an income-based property. Page 5 shows a discounted cash flow. And part of this jumps around at different types of appraisals. So just to be brief on this, there would be a discounted price there too. So I give you a quick example of the difference between the cost approach and what the market value would be. Let's say that the 3 of you were going to build an apartment building. You come to me as a real estate agent, you find out what the costs are. So now we know the cost of this project. Now you're going to ask me, what's the market value? The market value and the costs are different. Now, if the market value was less than the cost, it's a project you might not want to do. If the market value is equal to or above the cost, it's a project that would probably go ahead. The costs do need to be considered, but they're not the method by what you create the value. Page 6, to calculate, I'll just quick go through this. This would be for if you were calculating using the income approach, which is what I think should be done. Here, you still would discount for time and time value of money, which money today is worth more than it is tomorrow. So when you're looking at what the value of the apartment building would be in the future, you'd have to discount that rate also. Page 7, 2025 shows that the price per square foot of closed multifamily apartments and units was $188 a square foot. The average price in 2026 was $133 a square foot, or a 25% decrease over that time period. And again, that goes back to the job losses. We oversupplied, and that's why the price dropped. The income statement, which is page 8A, shows that during the last year, there was a loss. Not that that's a big deal. We're building a new apartment building. We knew there would be a loss, but it also shows why there needs to be a discount from new to used. And then our tax statement, which doesn't have anything to do with much, but I put it in there. Then page 10, in Washington State, the official guideline prioritizes sales that occurred before January 1st. And when I put in the sales that occurred in 2026, that's past the January 1st deadline. But it says that the true and fair value, if the true and fair value is evidenced through properties that closed after January 1st, it can be used for trending especially. And I know when I was on the board, we had a problem with appellants bringing in properties after the closing date. We met with the Department of Revenue, and the Department of Revenue said that those properties can be allowed if they show a true and a fair market value. So just to recap what I went through, page 3, the assessor is required by law to be at market value. Page 1, costs can be considered, but they are not market value. Page 2, the definition of fair market value is a willing buyer and a willing seller. Page 4, partially finished units would be discounted 15 to 25%. That would price it about $4,299,000 to $4,873,000. Rents are down 18%, and income is how an income property is valued. That would put the price at $4,701,000. Prices of multifamily have gone down by about 25% year over year. That would put the price at about $4,299,000. And I just asked for a 10% discount. And that price that I asked for was $5,164,293. And the reason I looked at it that way, next year we'll have the year's costs and the year's income, and we can go on a different avenue coming up with the value versus cost. And that's it for me.
Go ahead.
Alrighty, so this property was inspected June 10th of 2025, at which time none of the apartment buildings were 100% complete. On page 5 and 6, you'll see exactly where we have them for the breakdown of completion, which they are valued at. To address the income approach, it is not valid at this time, as we do not have the 3 years of income to be able to put that together. So we are asking the board to adjust the current value for a land value of $44,029, building and structures at $5,639,128, with a total assessed value of $5,683,157.
More time. 5.
5,683,157.
Your land value is 44,029 still.
44029, yeah.
Any rebuttals, sir?
Time's about up.
concludes the Grant County Board of Equalization hearing. The board will review all of the information provided and board orders stating their decision will be issued within 45 days. If either party disagrees with the board's decision, they may appeal to the Washington State Board of Tax Appeals within 30 days of the mailing of the board order. Good morning. Today is Thursday, June 18th, 2026, and we are on record with the Grant County Board of Equalization. We'll be hearing petition number 2025-163 for parcel number 38651-140753000, represented by John III and Aaron Shea, who are not in attendance. The assessor's office is represented by Rebecca Nash, who is in attendance. Please silence your cell phones and note these hearings are being recorded and will be posted to YouTube once the order has been issued. Mr. Chair, the board is convened and the hearing is open.
Today's hearing is regarding the true and fair value set by the Grant County Assessor's Office. Reminder, this relates to the assessed value of your property, not your property taxes. Board of Equalization is independent of the Assessor's Office. We are 3 citizens appointed by the Grant County Commissioners and trained by the Department of Revenue. Today's board is comprised of myself, Jim Breakville as chair, Mark Steinmetz and Rosa Decker as members. We have reviewed all evidence presented by both parties. This hearing is only to provide any additional oral testimony. No new evidence may be submitted at this time. Remember, everyone's time is valuable. Please try to keep to the timelines. Please address the board only. Since there's no appellant, does the assessor's representative swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
The subject parcel was physically inspected on April 1st, at which time contact with the owner was made and information was verified. On page 7, you'll see the sales that was used to create this market adjustment. Sales were provided from the appellant, but none of them were within the sales cutoff date. We did go ahead and put the 2 closest sales to the cutoff date into a grid just to see where it would put it, and it would still show that we can support the value that we placed. And with that, we asked the board to adjust the current assessed value to $23,500 for land, building and structures to $341,500 with a total assessed value of $365,000.
Okay, any questions?
Was that new adjustment based on the
It was based on the
Evidence
sales
that-
that we had,
provided?
yes.
This concludes the Grant County Board of Equalization hearing. The board will review all of the information provided and board orders stating their decision will be issued within 45 days. If either party disagrees with the board's decision, they may appeal to the Washington State Board of Tax Appeals within 30 days of the mailing of the board order. Good morning. Today is Thursday, June 18th, 2026, and we are on record with the Grant County Board of Equalization, and we'll be hearing petition number 2025-195 for parcel number 36497-131474000, represented by Tracy Daly, who is in attendance. The assessor's office is represented by Rebecca Nash, who is in attendance. Please silence your cell phones and note these hearings are being recorded and will be posted to YouTube once the order has been issued. Mr. Chair, the board is convened and the hearing is open.
The hearing today is regarding the true and fair value set by the Grant County Assessor's Office. Reminder, this relates to the assessed value of your property, not your property taxes. Board of Equalization is independent of the assessor's office. We are 3 citizens appointed by the Grant County Commissioners and trained by the Department of Revenue. Today's board is comprised of myself, Jim Brakebill as chair, Marge Steinmetz and Rosa Decker as members. We've reviewed all evidence presented by both parties. This hearing is only to provide any additional oral testimony. No new evidence may be submitted. Remember, everyone's time is valuable. Please try to keep to the timelines and please address the board only. Do both the appellant and the assessor's representative swear the testimony you're about to give is truth?
Yes, yes,
Okay, you're first. Go ahead.
thank you. I do not have additional documentation.
Could you speak up? We have
I do not have additional documentation. I understand based on the rules, there really is no way to contest the price because of how it is set. What I am here for today is to really ask some questions. For instance, sorry, I'm nervous. The RCW says that you do tax assessments from the last 5 years, and my values were not done in the last 5 years, so I'm just wondering why that wasn't done. I wanted to point out, I don't know if you want to answer or
No, I think you're gonna get an answer from the assessor's office, so you just
Okay.
keep asking your question.
I wanted to point out that my name isn't Troy Daly, so there was a typo on this one particular letter. I'm in the editing, so I apologize about that. I just saw that this morning. The rest of the questions have to do with how the taxes are formulated. I understand the levies. I understand all of the, I'm sorry, it's my allergies. I understand all of that. It's broken down very nicely, and then it's based on the assessed value. And I know it's not based on Zillow estimates, but it seems to me that the house prices have been pushed ahead because of Zillow. And I'm wondering if there's any way that the budget overall can be looked at so that this does not continue to happen where the prices are raised, inflated, because people come in and pay it, and it's just, to me, it's inflated. I would like to have a copy of the county, would it be the county budget? I understand that you already know next year values are gonna go up, taxes are gonna go up, and I just would like to have that. I would like to know how many property owners that live in Grant County actually have kids going to school that are paying taxes. Everything that I looked at, it says there's like, they estimate that 1/3 of the homeowners have kids going to school. And when I moved here because of my job opportunity, and I haven't had kids in school. I would also like to know why the senior citizen discount has to be tied to low income or certain values in income. I understand that has been like that for quite some time, but to me, that's, I don't know. I don't want to say discriminating or disparaging, but to me, that's not equitable. If you're a senior citizen, it seems to me there should be a discount. And I know other states, they do a better job of that sort of thing. I would like a copy of the, it's been my understanding that there's like a master comprehensive plan for cities, counties, and I don't know how to get that, so I would also like to have that.
That's way out of our purview. I mean, we don't
I'm
have any,
just-
we don't have any,
I'm asking the question,
oh, okay.
okay?
Mr. Chair, I can speak to that. The county's comprehensive plan as well as the county budget that you're requesting are both public records that are available on the website. If you have issues finding them, the comprehensive plan, you'll want to contact Grant County Development Services because they're the ones that oversee that. And the budget, you'll want to contact the commissioner's office and somebody can email you a copy or send you the link to find it online.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that. I would like to understand what the state school levy actually is. That's separate from the other items, so I don't know if I need to go to the school district for that or how to get that, but it is on here, so I did have that question as well.
Chair, I can speak to that also. The levies and taxes, you'll need to talk to the treasurer's office. As stated by the chair at the beginning, this hearing is only for your assessed value. Taxes and additional fees beyond the assessed value are not the intent of this hearing. You would need to talk to the treasurer's office.
Okay, I understand that, but that way it's on the record.
Anything else?
No, sir, like I say, based on the understanding that I have of the stipulations on how to do an appeal of this, I don't see how anybody can come up with it unless you pick the wrong information. Even if you do, one value isn't going to make a difference according to what I read. So I am not able to do that other than to say, I think the taxes are too high. And so
Again, taxes, we have nothing to do with, ma'am. We don't have anything to do with
assessed
taxes.
value, the
Okay.
assessed value
Okay.
has been in question.
Okay.
And it's been like that for a number of years. And so it's on record that I am protesting for
Okay.
disagreeing with how this is done.
Go ahead.
Alrighty, so just a couple things I want to touch up on. The sales for the last 5 years, those are just our time frame. We have a cutoff date last year, I believe it was April 30th. So anything before then we could use, anything after that we can't use. So we're able to use those back years of 5 sales to come up with the market adjustment. Those sales have to be located within the subject parcel's neighborhood. The ones that we had for this neighborhood, for the certain criteria, it does show that we can support the value that we place on the home. For the RCW of 8440,030, it is what a willing buyer would pay a willing seller. The assessors must appraise properties at 100% of that value using comparable sales within the neighborhood again, that are adjusted annually to reflect the current market value. As for inflation, I mean, we're seeing inflation everywhere when it comes to these values. For the senior disability, she would have to contact Craig with our office to get more information about that, as I cannot speak to it because I don't know as much as Craig would. With that, we would ask the board to sustain the current assessed value at $23,500 for land, $186,244 for the building and structures, for a total assessed value of $209,744.
Any rebuttal?
No, sir.
This concludes the Grant County Board of Equalization hearing. The board will review all of the information provided and board orders stating their decision will be issued within 45 days. If either party disagrees with the board's decision, they may appeal to the Washington State Board of Tax Appeals within 30 days of the mailing of the board order. Good morning. Today is Thursday, June 18th, 2026, and we are on record with the Grant County Board of Equalization, and we'll be hearing petition number 2025-198 for parcel number 50689-171080000, represented by Jesse Henniger, who is in attendance. The assessor's office is represented by Clayton Johnson, who is in attendance. Please silence your cell phones and note these hearings are being recorded and will be posted to YouTube once the order has been issued. Mr. Chair, the board is convened and the hearing is open.
The hearing today is regarding the true and fair value set by the Grant County Assessor's Office. Reminder, this relates to your property, or value of your property, not your property taxes. Board of Equalization is independent of the Assessor's Office. There are 3 citizens appointed by the Grant County Commissioners and trained by the Department of Revenue. Today's board is comprised of myself, Jim Brakebill as chair, Mark Steinmetz and Rosa Decker as members. We have reviewed all evidence presented by both parties. This hearing is only to provide any additional oral testimony. No new evidence may be submitted at this time. Remember, everyone's time is valuable. Please try to keep to the timelines. Please address the board only. Do both the appellant and the assessor's representative swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes.
Yes. The appellant will go first.
We just bought the house. They're showing a 583,051 valuation reduced from 665. We purchased it for 550. My mind, that is the value of the house. It's worth. That's what somebody's willing to give for it. I've got an appraisal to back that up when we purchased it. So I believe it's overappraised at where it's at, what you guys are saying. Once again, it's unrealized gains of valuation. So I'm just here to waste your time because you're wasting mine. So.
Anything else? Okay.
No.
Clayton, go ahead.
Right, so on page 8, you'll see the comparable sales used for market adjustments in the subject neighborhood. It did show that with an average of 556,400, that our original value was not supported. Therefore, we are asking the board to amend the current assessed value to land 72,620, building and structures 482,380, for a total assessed value of 555,000.
You're still 5,000 too high.
Okay, again, address the board.
I did.
And, well, we're not too high. We don't have anything to do with the assessor's office. Okay, so I mean, I understand your,
It is 5,000 too high still.
okay. Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to say besides
No,
that?
I've got an appraisal that backs up to 550, so.
Okay. All right. You want to address that?
The appraisal is supplied, and I'm looking through there. Some of the sales that were used were not in the subject. And when they do a fee appraisal, they are going to look further out than the assessor's office were able to look at. We look at directly in that, in the subject neighborhood, which is the sales that you see in our sales grid. I see here 2 of the sales in the appraisal that comparable 2 and 3 were in Ephrata, which is outside of the subject neighborhood. And it does look like, you know, one of those, it was one of the lower ones at 546, but these other sales are at adjusted values are at 590, 594, 626, and 552 with the ones in Moses Lake. So appears that, you know, the one that was used that was in Ephrata is the one that's kind of driving that price down. Its subject did sell for 550,000, but according to these other sales adjusted, that looks like the 555 is the supported value here. So that is our recommendation to adjust.
Neil, sir?
He's just kind of a fun hater.
I'm sorry?
He's just kind of a fun hater.
Okay.
This concludes the Grant County Board of Equalization hearing. The board will review all of the information provided, and board orders stating their decision will be issued within 45 days. If either party disagrees with the board's decision, they may appeal to the Washington State Board of Tax Appeals within 30 days of the mailing of the board order. Good morning. Today is Thursday, June 18th, 2026, and we are on record with the Grant County Board of Equalization, and we'll be hearing petition number 2025-207 for parcel number 45679-1609140008, represented by Jacob and Vanna St. Mary, who are not in attendance. The assessor's office is represented by Clayton Johnson, who is in attendance. Please silence your cell phones and note these hearings are being recorded and will be posted to YouTube once the order has been issued. Mr. Chair, the board is convened and the hearing is open.
The hearing today is regarding the true and fair value set by the Grant County Assessor's Office. Reminder, this relates to the assessed value of your property, not your property taxes. Board of Equalization is independent of the Assessor's Office. We are 3 citizens appointed by the Grant County Commissioners and trained by the Department of Revenue. Today's board is myself, Jim Brakel as chair, Marge Steinmetz and Rosa Decker as members. We have reviewed all evidence presented by both parties. This hearing is only to provide any additional oral testimony. No new evidence may be submitted this time. Remember, everyone's time is valuable. Please try to keep to the timelines. Please address the board only. Since there's no appellant, does the assessor's representative swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes.
Go ahead.
All right, the subject is a 2009 triple wide manufactured home and a 1997 double wide manufactured home, a pole house and a tool shed on a 38.83 acre large suburban lot. There was no market adjustment based on this parcel having multiple residences on it. Therefore, no sales. And all the improvements to the subject parcel, including double wide, are being valued at replacement cost less depreciation. And we've applied a countywide functional obsolescence to the double wide for being moved more than once. Therefore, we are asking the board to adjust the current assessed value to land, $75,755, building and structures, $417,297, for a total assessed value of $493,052.
Questions?
Just like to ask about the obsolescence rule. Can you talk a little bit about it?
So when a mobile home has been moved multiple times, it does create obsolescence or possible conditional issues with the mobile home. So we put an additional obsolescence, is what we would call it, just to show that it has been moved multiple times. It's possible that there's no effect from that, but there's also possible that there is an effect from it being moved multiple times, whereas most mobile homes are put on a lot are just put on that lot and then they stay on that lot. But when they're moved multiple times, typically you're going to see it with single wides, but I believe in this case it was actually a double wide. And so having it moved multiple times can create issues with the home, so it is given additional obsolescence.
Can you address the appellant's information about this thing not being taxed before and
Yeah, so it was, to my understanding, that they believe that the secondary unit should not be taxed at all because of it was about a age disabled or dependent relative lived on that property. According to the county planning department, there was an ordinance that changed in 2024 that removed the restriction of an ADU being resided in by an aged, disabled, or dependent relative. So that was removed, and the documentation explaining that change in the ordinance is attached here. So it sounds to me like that there was in the past some sort of ordinance that if there was, you could have an ADU on your property that would allow for an aged or disabled person to live in it and then it not be taxed. That is not the case anymore, according to what we have got from the building and planning department. And the codes and the all of that is on attachment A, should go over all of those ordinance and codes that have changed.
Marge, any questions? All right. Just go into the next one if you would.
The next one is petition number 2025-209 for parcel number 59501-1907090000, represented by Joe Marie and Ryan D. Herring, who are not in attendance. The assessor's office is represented by Clayton Johnson, who is in attendance. Sure.
Reminder, you're still under oath.
Yes, sir. So this parcel is a 1987 double-wide manufactured home, a farm utility shelter, and a farm utility storage shed, and a labor cabin on a 1.9 acre suburban lot. On page 9, you'll see the sales comparison grid that shows the sales used for market adjustments in the subject neighborhood. The subject property was the most recent sale that set the market adjustment. It was sold for $416,500 on January 16th, 2024, and the property is currently valued at $365,202. Therefore, we are asking the board to sustain the current assessed value at land, $54,850, building and structures, $310,352, for a total assessed value of $365,202.
Any questions? All right. Guess we should wait for 10:45, huh?
This concludes the Grant County Board of Equalization hearings. The board will review all the information provided, and board orders stating their decisions will be issued within 45 days. If either party disagrees with the board's decision, they may appeal to the Washington State Board of Tax Appeals within 30 days of the mailing of the board order. Good morning. Today is Thursday, June 18th, 2026, and we are on record with the Grant County Board of Equalization, and we'll be hearing petition number 2025-244 for parcel number 47429-161779015, represented by James Laska Living Trust. We have Franz Laska and James Laska who are in attendance. The assessor's office is represented by Clayton Johnson, who is in attendance. Please silence your cell phones and note these hearings are being recorded and will be posted to YouTube once the order has been issued. Mr. Chair, the board is convened and the hearing is open.
The hearing today is regarding the true and fair value set by the Grant County Assessor's Office. Reminder, this relates to the assessed value of your property, not your property taxes. Board of Equalization is independent of the Assessor's Office. We are 3 citizens appointed by the Grant County Commissioners and trained by the Department of Revenue. Today's board is comprised of myself, Jim Brakebill as chair, Marge Steinmetz and Rosa Decker as members. We reviewed all evidence presented by both parties. This hearing is only to provide any additional oral testimony. No new evidence may be submitted at this time. Remember, everyone's time is valuable. Please try to keep to the timelines and please address the board only. Do both the appellant and the assessor's representatives swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes.
Yes. Sir, are you going to testify?
Possibly, I don't know.
You
Then
gotta swear.
Do you
Yes.
swear?
Yes.
Go ahead, you're first. Whoever's gonna present.
Okay, I just want to,
You're gonna have to speak up for the board, please.
okay, yes. I looked on the assessors, the website, and under the frequently asked questions, it talks about how the property is valued. It says the state law requires the county assessors value all taxable property 100% of its true and fair market value in terms of money according to the highest and best use of the property. It also says that recent sales of comparable properties are used to help set the values. And then it says, what is the market value? It says the amount of money that a willing and unobligated buyer is willing to pay a willing unobligated seller. Okay, so based upon that, market value does not equal the cost of construction. And I want to keep that in mind here because that was part of how this was calculated, as I understand it. I believe all of the information that I'm presenting now has already been discussed with Darren, is it Hine? Is that how you say his
Darren
name?
isn't here.
Correct, but we had a conversation on the phone, so I
Okay.
don't think there's any new information is what I'm getting
Okay.
at. The county originally assessed a value of $515,788. And then when I contacted the county, they lowered that to $393,626. That's a $122,162 difference. I think that's still way too high.
One point I'd like to make with reference to that, if the 515,000 was a true and fair market value, what is the 300 and whatever thousand? Okay? They can't both be true and fair market values. Now, the only reason it was changed is because we complained. Had we not complained, that would have stood. Now, how many people in the county do not complain and end up paying a higher tax rate than what they should? Just a point.
Okay, we're dealing with yours, not
I
everybody else's.
understand that, but
I
we're
understand your question.
dealing with ours, but we are also referencing other properties in the county. That's how the appraisal is set, supposedly.
So normally with respect to real estate, it's my understanding that the prime factor in determining the value is the location. Everybody's heard that, location, location, location. Now, my property is located from the Moses Lake side, approximately 5 miles from Stratford Road. From the Ephrata side, approximately 5 miles from Road 20. Now, those 5 miles are gravel county road to get there, okay? That's to get to the Grant County Ranch's location. That road, both of those, that route is D.7. It's Road 16 and then it turns into D.7. Anyway, that is maintained by the county on a minimal basis. We had one winter a few years back where there was so much snow that all of the private property owners had to plow themselves out because the county could not get there. In fact, they didn't get there for 2 weeks. After I get off of the county road and enter into the Grant County Ranches area, I have approximately 1 mile of private gravel road before I get to my gate, okay? There's no mail service out there. There's no school service. Most of the people that live in the surrounding areas all take their kids and transport them to Road 16, the intersection of 16 and Stratford Road, or they can take them down to, I believe it's Road 19. 19 and E, I believe. The fire department, the closest fire department is Grant County District 5, and it's approximately 10 miles away out there on Stratford Road. As far as health services, the nearest and closest would be Moses Lake, 30 minutes away, making the Life Flight membership pretty much necessary for anybody who would require any kind of emergency medical assistance out there. There is no utility power out there. At the time that the house was constructed, I got an estimate for that, and they were talking about $260,000 to run power to my property, okay? No power means there's no water. Even if you have a well, how do you get it out of the ground? So you can't pull it out of the ground, so the well is pretty much useless. Now, one of the things that they went through in here, and I'm just gonna go to this for just a second here. If I can find the page, maybe I was on it. Oh, I was on it, okay. So they originally started out assigning me full utilities, which was $10,000, okay? And then they reduced it down to a septic of $3,500 and a well for $5,500 for a total of $9,000. So according to that, the lack of power, it only constitutes a $1,000 difference. Now, here's the thing. If you don't have power, neither the well nor the septic do you any good, because without power, you don't have water, and without water, the septic doesn't work. So just a point of contention there. My property is certainly not scenic property. I don't know that it was evaluated as such, but it certainly is not unless you like to look at grass, weeds, and big rocks. Now, let's talk about the house. Essentially, it's a daylight basement. The south-facing wall is the only wall that has any kind of glazing or windows. It's approximately 2,400 square feet with an 800 square foot garage. The floors are concrete throughout. The walls are made up of concrete-filled ICF forms, if you're familiar with those. The roof is made out of concrete slabs. It has no floor coverings, no ceiling, no closets. It has no HVAC system. It has a wood stove for heat, no fireplace. It does have two 9,000 BTU mini split units, but they can only be used in the summertime because of power constraints, and I can only run one at a time unless I'm running my generator. The side walls, the back walls are all backfilled with dirt. The roof is covered with dirt. I have no decks, no patios. The south-facing wall is covered with metal roofing as the siding, similar to a shop building. There's no lawn, there's no landscaping. I do have some trees that I planted. The house design is very specific. It's not easily remodeled. And the county is aware of all of these things that I've mentioned. They came out and went through the house. They actually were out, a couple of county appraisers, yes. They were out there and they looked through the whole thing. That was 12 plus years ago. It hasn't changed since then with the exception of the mini split units. Everything has remained the same. Now let's talk about my power system since I don't have utility power. My maximum system power is approximately 4,000 watts or about 35 amps, with 10 of those amps being reserved for the well and pumping water. 25 amps is what remains for the house usage compared to a typical utility of 200 amp service, okay? My maximum water usage is 5 gallons per minute. That's what I can pull out of the well. So I require a 1,000 gallon storage tank, and I fill that up and then I use that, okay? My power system is powered by solar panels, which require attention and maintenance, batteries that need to be replaced every 4 to 7 years. The solar panel life is approximately 25 years. I have a backup generator, which is required for periods of bad weather, especially in the winter, because the battery is discharged in approximately 3 days. All of my electronic equipment is approximately 20 years old. Now, all of these things are, of course, by my own choice. However, when you're talking about a true and fair market value and someone wanting to purchase this property, they would have to take on all of these same set responsibilities. Now, I'd like to talk about comparable other properties. Just like when I discussed with Darren on the phone, they couldn't find any because there are none. There aren't any other properties that are built in a similar manner, equipped similarly within any kind of a radius, but in particular, I specified a 2-mile radius here. The closest property that sold, and it sold, I believe it was approximately 4 or 5 years ago, belonged to Larry and Diane Schaff, and it's actually on this map. You can see it. Let's see if I can show you to you. On this map, I don't know if you have this, but right here, this one here that I've circled, my property is right here. Theirs is down here. That's their house. That's the only other house out there. It belonged to Larry and Diane Schaff. It consisted of a 2-story wood-framed house, approximately 2,600 square feet on 20 acres, with a shop building of a similar size, and it had several other outbuildings, including a mobile home. It took them approximately 11 months to sell it, and the sale price was approximately $200,000, making the price per square foot, if you run the numbers, approximately $76.90. They stated that the potential buyers could not get a loan through the banks because it did not have power. Again, they ran on a generator. This is the same response I got when I applied for a home equity line of credit on my home. They said because I was not tied to the utility grid, they could not give me a loan. They also said because there are no comparable properties, they could conduct no kind of appraisal, and therefore I couldn't get any kind of a loan. And a point of reference is technically the county cannot or will not give an occupancy permit unless the house is connected to utility power. So, but if we use the $76.90 per square foot price and apply that to my property, I've got 2,400 square feet of house times 76.9, that's $184,560. If we take and add the 800 square feet of garage at 50% of the 76.9, that's $30,760 for a grand total of $215,320. Now, one of the things that they did include was, just a minute, I'm trying to, let me see if I can find the name that they used. They called it because I just call it a lean-to, but they call it a farm utility shelter. Okay, that was added on to the side of my shop, and that was included in their assessment value. Based on the location, the design characteristics, the private and somewhat, it's not sophisticated, but it is a little bit difficult in terms of maintenance, the electrical system, and all of the above other mentioned factors, it would require a very specific buyer to want to purchase this property. Someone that would want to perform the maintenance, perform the required duties in order to keep everything up and running. And then they would have to find some form of finance or way of paying for the purchase. So based on all of that, the amount there, the $215,320 that I calculated based on the square footage price, I would consider that a true and fair market value.
Anything else?
No.
Okay.
Okay, so try to address all of the issues brought up here as best as I can. The first one was a conversation with Darren Hine, would have been the previous appraiser who did this. I can't speak to what that conversation consisted of because he's not in our office anymore. So I would have to take the appellant's word for what was discussed here. He did put together this response, and so based on that, it looks like the value was lowered due to some of the issues that were brought up by the appellant here, location issues, since it is in a unique location and there isn't any market that reflects that particular location. We did remove the market adjustment and put it back down to just replacement cost, new, less depreciation. So also only changed because the appellant, they appealed. That is something where, you know, we send out a change of value. It is up to the taxpayer to reach out to tell us if that values they believe that's incorrect, and so we can look further into it. Location issues, again, that was part of the market adjustment. No power. As appellant did state, we have removed the full utility, or we had full utilities, and we removed the power down to just the septic and the well. Now I understand that without the power, it sounds like the septic and well require power to run, but there must be some form of power to make those run because I guess there is no argument as far as whether those should be valued there. No HVAC. I believe we have the component as warm and cold air, and I would say that's probably, if there's mini splits and heating and cooling, that would be considered warm and cold air. Bank couldn't do an appraisal. I mean, I don't, there's not really much to say about that. I'm not sure what they would have been, why they would have not been able to do an appraisal. They could have looked at it from strictly a cost approach as we did. And then the last thing was couldn't get an occupancy permit. I'm not sure if I'm understanding that correctly. But if there is a concern that there can't be an occupancy permit for this house, that would definitely be something that we would want to reflect in evaluation if this can't be lived in. I didn't see that anywhere in the response or in the petition, so I wouldn't be able to make an adjustment for that unless there was something provided to show that. But it definitely could have an effect on the value. With all that, with the adjustments to the land for the utility value and adjustments, removing that market adjustment, we are asking the board to adjust the current assessed value to land, 47,448, building and structures, 346,178, for a total assessed value of 393,626.
Okay, any rebuttal?
Well, the warm and cool air thing as far as the HVAC, when the house was originally constructed and they went through it, I had a wood stove. That's all I have. I specified that I added the mini splits. I also specified I can only use them in the summertime because I don't have the power to use them in the wintertime. Now, you know, I guess you can go either way with that. With respect to the occupancy permit, that was just a statement of fact. The county never
Address the board.
the county never completely signed off on the house because it wasn't connected to utilities. That doesn't mean it's not occupiable, okay? It just means that they never gave the final sign off on it. So that was just a statement. That wasn't anything that was contesting the value necessarily. That was, I don't remember. Do you anything else?
No, I mean, he presented his side, we presented our side, and I guess that's why we're in front of this board. We never got any data, any specific data, any inputs, anything from the county with respect to how they arrived at their values. None, okay? We asked for that. We did not get any.
Let me say this. He specified that it was based on cost of replacement. Again, the market value is not equivalent to the cost of the construction or the cost of replacement. I realize you guys have difficulty in determining valuations, and so you have to rely on other things. But, you know, a person can build a $2 million house and never be able to sell it. And that, you know, just because it costs them $2 million to build doesn't mean that they're ever going to get that value out of it. And therefore, it wouldn't be accurate to call that the market value of that house. And there are certain instances where a house may cost substantially less. Obviously, when developers are developing a subdivision, they build a whole bunch of houses and they cost substantially less to build than what they sell them for. So it works both ways. But in this case, being that the house is a very specific house, it's very specifically constructed. I mean, we didn't intend to build it for someone to buy it. It was built for us, and based upon that, it would take a very particular person to want to purchase it. So trying to sell it would be difficult, and, you know, just like trying to determine a valuation is difficult.
There are some houses, I believe, in the county that houses, I say that in quotes, that are basements with roofs over them, okay? That is basically what this is. I know you folks have not seen this house, and it was built the way it was built for a particular reason. You know, a basement is by far the cheapest part of any house. We all know that, okay? And that's basically what this is. Like he mentioned, there are no floor coverings. There's nothing. It does have sheetrock on the walls, okay? But there is no ceiling. All the pipes and power and everything's up in the ceiling. All the plumbing's down.
Not in the ceiling. It runs across the bottom of the roof.
Yeah.
Yes.
Excuse me. All the power is under, or all the plumbing is underneath the floor. So in terms of any kind of a remodel or anything else, it's almost impossible. It's a very fixed design that can really not be changed in any reasonable way without totally substantial costs, okay? But like he said, it was not designed for anybody else, it was designed for us. And it's a very, very simple home. I mean, it's a great room, which basically kitchen, dining room, living room. It's not what you would call an average, which is what they keep referring to, an average home. It just simply is not. Okay? If you were going to go out and buy a house for $500,000, I think you would expect a little more than what we have out there. Okay? You know, it's hard to explain. You'd have to come out and actually see it, which is why we invited the county out to begin with, because it was different and unique. All right.
And that was 14 years ago.
That was after we first built it, because that's when the first appraisals and everything came out and, you know, whatever. So nobody's been out since then. Nobody's requested to be out since then. I don't know how they get their information as far as what's happening. I guess visually drive by once in a while or something. I don't know. Okay, that's beyond me.
Right.
But anyway, I'm done.
Anything else? Okay. You want to respond to any of that?
Well, I will say that there was mention that we are calling it average. We actually have both quality and condition as fair. So that just to point out that we don't consider it average. That is based off of the components of the house. The last time this was not physically inspected, they are correct. So, but to note on that, I would love to have somebody come out there. I don't, again, not being an appraiser that did this, I'm not sure what the conversations were about why we weren't out there to get an inspection on this, but the assessor's office would love to come out and look at these types of properties to make sure that it's fair.
Anything else? Okay.
This concludes the Grant County Board of Equalization hearing. The board will review all of the information provided, and board orders stating their decision will be issued within 45 days. If either party disagrees with the board's decision, they may appeal to the Washington State Board of Tax Appeals within 30 days of the mailing of the board order. Good morning. Today is Thursday, June 18th, 2026, and we are on record with the Grant County Board of Equalization. We'll be hearing petition number 2025-247 for parcel number 95435-611483000, represented by Andrew Calvert, who is not in attendance. The assessor's office is represented by Clayton Johnson, who is in attendance. Please silence your cell phones and know these hearings are being recorded and will be posted to YouTube once the order has been issued. Mr. Chair, the board is convened and the hearing is open.
The hearing today is regarding a true and fair value set by the Grant County Assessor's Office. A reminder, this relates to the assessed value of your property, not your property taxes. Board of Equalization is independent of the Assessor's Office. We are 3 citizens appointed by the Grant County Commissioners and trained by the Department of Revenue. Today's board is comprised of myself, Jim Brinkville as chair, Mark Steinmetz, and Rosa Decker as members. We have reviewed all evidence presented by both parties. This hearing is only to provide any additional oral testimony. No new evidence may be submitted at this time. Remember, everyone's time is valuable. Please try to keep to the timelines. Please remember to address the board only. Since there's no appellant present, does the assessor's representative swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes.
Go ahead.
All right, the subject is a 1998 double-wide manufactured home and a detached garage in the Sun Desert Mobile Home Park. After review per the, per the BOE petition, it was found that the appellant purchased the manufactured home and detached garage in June of 2025 for $160,000. That is past our cutoff date, but it is close to the cutoff date, and it is the subject property. So that is the best indication of the market value for this subject. Therefore, we are asking the board to adjust the current assessed value to land 0, building and structures 160,000 for a total assessed value of 160,000.
Any questions?
This concludes the Grant County Board of Equalization hearing. The board will review all of the information provided and board orders stating their decision will be issued within 45 days. If either party disagrees with the board's decision, they may appeal to the Washington State Board of Tax Appeals within 30 days of the mailing of the board order. Good morning. Today is Thursday, June 18th, 2026, and we are on record with the Grant County Board of Equalization. We'll be hearing petition number 2025-190 for parcel number 70429-311532000, represented by Jamie Vanderstrom, who is in attendance via Zoom. The assessor's office is represented by Clayton Johnson, who is in attendance. Please silence your cell phones and note these hearings are being recorded and will be posted to YouTube once the order has been issued. Mr. Chair, the board is convened and the hearing is open.
The hearing today is regarding the true and fair value set by the Grant County Assessor's Office. Reminder, this relates to the assessed value of your property, not your property taxes. Board of Equalization is independent of the Assessor's Office. We are 3 citizens appointed by the Grant County Commissioners and trained by the Department of Revenue. Today's board is comprised of myself, Jim Breakville as chair, Mark Steinmetz, and Rosa Decker as members. We reviewed all evidence presented by both parties. This hearing is only to provide any additional oral testimony. No new evidence may be submitted at this time. Remember, everyone's time is valuable. Please try to keep to the timelines. Please address the board only. Do both the appellant and the assessor's representative swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes.
Ma'am?
I don't know if she can hear you, can she? She doesn't look like she hears.
Can you hear us?
I think you're unmuted now, Jamie, if you want to try to talk.
Can you hear us? Nope.
Can you type a little something?
Send her an email. You don't want to use the chat function on Zoom because it becomes a public record that we just don't want to open that door. So Jamie, it looks like you are unmuted. If you can hear us, can you nod or try to speak? But also, if you could avoid using the Zoom chat feature, please. It creates a public record that we do not want to have to maintain.
She's not hearing us at all.
Oh, did she hang up?
No, she's turned her camera off.
Oh.
Try to call her and see whether or not she would respond. She's not hearing us at all. Okay.
Hi, this is Caitlin Mano, the Grant County Board of Equalization. Okay. Yes, so we've opened up the hearing already. So Can you, no, it's okay. Did you say you can hear the board? Well, you would probably be able to hear me talking because I'm in the hearing room, but there's nobody. Okay. So I believe it would be an issue with your Zoom client, the hearing is just to present any additional verbal testimony. So, I mean, I can certainly try to just put you on speakerphone here if you'd like. Let me check with the board. Give me 1 moment. She got a notice on her Zoom saying, yeah, oops, something's wrong. Please try logging in again. She's wanting to know if the board is willing to hold while she does that, or if she wants the board to just continue, or if the board wants to just continue. She said she didn't really have any verbal testimony to give. She was more just wanting to listen.
She just wants to listen, we can go ahead.
She would need to, she can't hear anybody right now, though. So that's the question is, do you want to just proceed or do we want to give her time to log out and log back in?
Let her log out and log back in.
Yeah. Is there an option where she can call? Just rather than,
The board is willing to wait if you want to log out and log back in to see if you can get your Zoom working.
One time.
If you're needing to try logging in again, you'll have to actually leave the meeting. There you go. And then, yep, and then you'll want to try following that link again. See you online again, so I'm going to promote you to a panelist. Are you able to hear anything coming from the Zoom now?
You can hear us, nod your head. Can you hear us?
She says no.
She can hear you through the phone, but
Okay.
not through the Zoom.
Okay.
It's okay. It happens. So options, I can put her on speaker if the board's fine with that. And you can hear.
I'm good with that.
She can hear through the phone.
Yep.
Okay. 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 So I'm gonna put you on speaker here. Okay.
Thank you, sorry about that.
There you go.
I'm gonna read this again, since you didn't hear it.
Go ahead.
The hearing today is regarding the true and fair value set by the Grant County Assessor's Office. Reminder, this relates to the assessed value of your property, not your property taxes. Board of Equalization is independent of the Assessor's Office. We are 3 citizens appointed by the Grant County Commissioners and trained by the Department of Revenue. Today's board is comprised of myself, Jim Breakville as chair, Marge Steinmetz, and Rosa Decker as members. We have reviewed all evidence presented by both parties. This hearing is only to provide any additional oral testimony. No new evidence may be submitted at this time. Remember, everyone's time is valuable. Please try to keep to the timelines. Please address the board only. Do the appellant and the assessor's representative swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes.
You're the appellant. Do you swear?
Oh, sorry.
Yep, you're okay. If you're going to testify, do you swear that what you say is the truth?
Yes.
Okay? You go first. You have something to say or add?
I don't have anything to add other than what was in my petition. What prompted us to file was just concern of a significant improvement value on our assessment when we haven't made any improvements in the last 10 years. I just don't, I don't understand how that works. And then diving into kind of the comps around there, according to the realtor guy that I talked to, and I talked to somebody else at the assessor's office, there really isn't, our property is an outlier. There isn't any properties that have sold recently that are similar to ours with the type of house that we have and the property that we have. And so I was advised to bring it to you guys for to be looked into further. So I appreciate your time in doing so.
Okay.
Okay, so on page 8, you'll see the sales comparison grid showing sales in the subject neighborhood with an average adjusted market value of $617,867. The appellant supplied 4 sales in their petition. However, none were waterfront properties and therefore non-comparables. I do have a note on here that on the change of value notice here, I see a note here that says that somebody from the assessor's office, it looks like Chelsea at the assessor's office, mentioned that Clayton Johnson, did the assessment last year, and then there was a message left for me. However, the bottom portion of this, I cannot see what that note says. It looks like it says something about maybe a physical inspection and looked into more. And I do notice on the petition as well that it says somebody spoke to me in the assessor's office, and that there was a miscalculation in our property and he's looked into further. However, I was not in charge of this appeal, so I'm not sure where that information came from. It appears by the sales comparison grid that these comparables are comparable and support the assessed value of the subject property. Therefore, we are asking the board to sustain the current assessed value at land $144,600, building and structures $413,836 for a total assessed value of $558,436.
Hey, ma'am, do you have anything you want to rebut on that?
Were you referring to the handwritten message on the bottom of the notice of assessed value? If that's true, the note that I had made myself was that I called and spoke with, if I was written down Clayton Johnson, if that's you, then I spoke with you and looked at this, and you told me that it needed to be appealed and looked into more because of something about the land value was capped out, and so and being that I have an older home, and the reason that there's only comps on there for manufactured homes is there isn't any other homes with lakefront like ours that were manufactured. So I was at a loss of what I'm supposed to provide when there aren't any. I guess I don't it was, I believe it was, well, I wrote down Peyton Johnson, so if that's you, we recommended that, I needed to appeal it, and then it needed to be looked into more. So that was where that came from. That was on 12/23 that I left a message for Chelsea. I didn't write the day that I spoke to you. I believe it was either that day or the next day. But
Well, the next day would have been Christmas Eve, and we were not in office, so it definitely wasn't then. But whenever somebody does reach out to the assessor's office, when it's towards the end of the 30-day appeal period, which started on December 1st, so this would have been close to the end. I do typically recommend that if the taxpayer's not in agreement with the value, that you would put in a petition so that we could look into it further. However, as stated before, the looking into it further portion of this was not handled by myself. So whatever was found that I had mentioned, may need to be looked into, was looked into, and it does appear that the comparables that are seen on page 8 were found and do support the assessed value.
Did you hear all that?
yes, thank you.
Okay. Do you have anything else you want to rebut?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, no, I don't really understand how this page 8 thing calculates out, so it's okay.
Would you like me to explain?
Sure.
I can explain that. So the sales comparison grid that you see on page 8 is used to adjust for the different components of the sales. So as you'll see on there, they're all double wide manufactured homes. But there can be, in the sales, there can be differences in the square footage, the components, the heating and cooling, all of that. What that comparison grid does is it takes apples to apples and changes them into Honeycrisp to Honeycrisp. So we're going further. We're making them further comparable to the subject by adjusting the different components based on the replacement cost of those components rather. So as you'll see, for example, the square footage of the subject is 1,456, whereas the comparable one has 1,809 square foot. So what we need to do is subtract value from that sale price. In that particular case, it looks like 34,661. That is subtracted from that sale price to show that it has more square footage than the subject. And then the same goes for all of those components down there, all the way down to the differences in the land value. So what it's doing is it's making those comparables identical to the subject. And what that does is then we look at that and you get an average down there. You'll see the average of those adjusted. So that one sold for, comparable one sold for 300, but if you were to adjust it to be identical to the subject, the adjusted market value would be 490,000. And then we look at all three of those sales with an average, and that's what comes out to the 617,000. So if you were to adjust those all to be directly the same as the subject, that's the average you would get.
Okay, so even the one with the basement, even though we don't have a basement?
Correct. So if you look at comparable to as a basement, and we are taking $25,000 off of that sale price. So yes, it has a basement, but since it's sold for much more, we need to take that off there to make it comparable. We do this because most areas, aside from some of the, for lack of a better term, cookie cutter homes, most homes are not identical. So the sales are not going to be identical. So we do need to adjust for those because they are similar in their build and their components, but they aren't identical. So we have to have something to base this off of, and that's where we make those adjustments.
clarify, if you would, the different colors?
On the sales comparison grid,
Right.
so you're gonna see the red is gonna be the negative taken away. So again, on comparable one, the square footage is much significantly higher for than the subject, so that -34 is in red. Whereas the heating and cooling of the subject is warm and cold air, which is superior to the forced air. So you're gonna add 9,522. So red is taken away, black is added.
And all of these are double lines, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. So can I ask one more question?
Sure.
So the, what our property gets assessed at, is that what we would then be, like, if we decided to sell, is that what this fair market value is supposed to mean? Is that that's what our house would be legitimately on the market for?
So according to the market data that we have, yes. Is it going to be 100%? You know, if you were to put it on the market today, would somebody pay exactly $558,436? We are not able to tell you that for sure. If you were to get a bank appraisal done, a fee appraisal done, they may come up with a different number as well. So according to the data that is shown here with these sales, that's what the market does indicate based on these, but I can never sit here and say 100%.
Yeah, when I think of our 1996 manufactured home being on the market for $560,000, I don't think that's even remotely possible. So that's I guess my question. I can't imagine that we would ever get that much money for our property. But so yeah, that's why I was curious and what kind of prompted this whole thing was. I just don't see how. Yeah. So, but thank you for explaining that sales comparison grid. I'm not sure about the 700,000 one. I mean, I can see the first one and the third one being more comparable. The $700,000 one though feels a little bit high for a comparison from my house, but I understand you need to have multiple. So.
Okay. Highly recommend that you make contact with the assessor's office if you have questions during that, the beginning of that appeal time, so that you can get them out and they can look.
Oh, okay. So they'll come out and look at it again upon request?
Correct. So what I would encourage you to do is, as soon as you get to change of value notice, reach out to us. Now, we do have a large volume of calls during that time, as you can imagine. So, and that's why, and towards the end of that 30 days, I am going to, in order to make sure that taxpayers do not lose their place in line per se, and are able to be looked at, I would recommend that you petition, but the sooner you can give us a call, the better. And our phones are always on throughout the whole entire year before the petition as well. So definitely feel free to reach out to us.
Is there anything else you have?
No, thank you.
Thank you for attending.
This concludes the Grant County Board of Equalization hearing. The board will review all the information provided and board orders stating their decision will be issued within 45 days. If either party disagrees with the board's decision, they may appeal to the Washington State Board of Tax Appeals within 30 days of the mailing of the board order. Thank you for being here.